And this is more reason why this man must be put down and why we must be delivered ASAP. I want to give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect that are scattered throughout the four winds of the earth. And I'm just going to be a quick video, but this right here, they're showing you the process of how they preserve some of these fruits in these grocery stores. And this is what they do. All right, if your food isn't being sprayed, it's being gassed. All right, they want to, use petroleum to preserve your food, which is highly toxic and poisonous. But they do it for preservation, to keep it in the stores as long as it can. All right. Natural organic fruit and vegetables, they have a time period on it, and then it expires. It goes bad, you toss it away. But this devil uses chemicals and, gas, oils to, increase the shelf life of these produce items. So if you go into a store and you're thinking that it's fresh, it could have been sitting there for months. So yeah, this man, this is why he's going to be held responsible for everything, and if the Lord doesn't shorten the days, there will be no flesh left to be saved. All right. Because, their goal is to, keep us sickly so that we are continual big pharma clients, So I'm going to play this little video clip right here, and then we'll get a couple scriptures on it, because, this right here, it's in a righteous world, you shouldn't have to worry about if your fruit is any good. It shouldn't have to be an organic section for fruit. And I wouldn't be surprised if even the organic fruit and produce is tampered with. Like I said, if they're not spraying it, pesticides, chemtrails, then they're doing other stuff to it. And this right here is one of those methods that they use. All right, so none of this food is safe, man. That's why you just gotta pray. So anyway, let me play this real quick.
That the fruit they eat from the supermarket has been treated with a product called Smart Fresh. Now, before I get into what Smart Fresh is, I want you to see it in action. First, they place the fruit in a hermetically sealed chamber. Then they drop the Zyklon B, Smart Fresh, into some water to form a gas. And then they lock up the gas chamber nice and tight. They leave the fruit there for about 24 hours so that it can soak up all the gas, and voila, your fruit has been contaminated. Smart Fresh. Now, let's look at an apple that's been treated with Smart Fresh and compare it to an apple that hasn't been treated with Smart Fresh. This time-lapse video shows the changes over 3 months.
And they should change it to Smart Def, because I'm pretty sure that, consuming that and you not knowing what you're consuming, you thinking that it's just, fruit. It's supposed to be healthy. It's supposed to give you energy, but it's giving you a slow kill. So that's what they should really name it. Smart Def. This man is he's Satan in the flesh, for real.
3 months.
Hey, the scriptures say they sleep not except they have done mischief. This is what they do. Woe to them that work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hand. This is very harmful, and they know it. This is sickening, but it's what we got to deal with, and we can't escape prophecy at the end of the day. I'm gonna get Ezekiel in a minute, but let's finish this clip.
As you can see, the Smart Fresh apple hasn't changed a bit. Most people don't even realize that the fruit they buy at the grocery store can literally be a year old before it's actually sold, and you wouldn't know the difference. Let's see what the makers of Smart Fresh have to say about their product. They say the active ingredient of Smart Fresh is methyl cyclopropene, or MCP. They describe it as a simple hydrocarbon molecule. Well, that sounds perfectly innocent, doesn't it? A simple hydrocarbon. What could be wrong with that? Well, examples of simple hydrocarbons are as follows: butane, propane, and even hexane. It turns out they're gassing the fruit with petroleum-based products, ladies and gentlemen. Now they just call it a simple...
And they do the exact same thing in the pharmaceutical industry. All right. Thanks to the Rockefeller family, they came up with the conventional medicine and converted a lot of these herbs and put it together with chemicals and crude oil, and came up with this conventional medicine or medication that people use today from the pharmacy. So that's why the scriptures say this. Let me grab it in the Apocrypha. Basically the wicked, they turn these things that are meant to be used for good and they turn it into evil. All right. They weaponize even food and medicine, man. This is the book of Sirach. Yeah, the book of Sirach, 39 and starting at 25, it says, "For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, and they contaminate the water. You don't even have a decent water supply because that's all filled with chemicals, dye, nuclear radiation, lead, mercury." It says fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil, and clothing. All these things are good for the godly, for especially when it's being used righteously, properly, for its intended use. So to the sinners, they are turned into evil. Esau, he's an evil person. So he doesn't use it for good purpose. He'll turn any of these things that is, essential for the use of man and turn it into evil. And but they wonder why we stay on this man. People try to really save these devils. So let's finish this clip up.
Simple hydrocarbon so that nobody worries about it. I mean, who doesn't like a little diesel with their fruit, right? Their website also states that this can be used with other fruits and vegetables. Yum, yum, yum. Safe and effective for eradicating rodents and the population. If pesticides don't get you, Smart Fresh will, my friends. Smart Fresh is authorized for use with organic foods because nothing screams organic like spraying hydrocarbons on your fruits and vegetables. And the worst part here is that people are totally unaware. Of course, the makers of Smart Fresh don't actually show you what Smart Fresh is on their website. They do, however, show you pictures of unsuspecting consumers smiling as they eat this nasty cocktail of pesticides and petrochemical additives. And it's all perfectly legal. Imagine eating GMOs that are sprayed with pesticides and then treated with Smart Fresh. What could go wrong there? Not only that, but the makers of Smart Fresh also make other exciting products that can be used before the harvest season.
Wow. So we gonna spray it, we gonna gas it, we gonna GMO it, showing you that these devils don't care, man. So let me grab this precept, of course. So it's like you gotta pretty much if you're getting produce, try to wash it. You could probably use that food grade hydrogen peroxide. You know, like you pretty much gotta wash everything because all this shit is contaminated, and it's all done by design, of course. This is the book of Ezekiel 4:13. It says, "And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I will drive them." And it's clearly defiled, is polluted. Hey, arise ye and depart, Micah 2:10. What you got certain Israelites, we get on them. They want to they want to ready themselves for the long haul. They're not looking to get up out of here. They're not earnest, to be delivered up out of here. Like it tells you in 2nd Ezra, the 3rd chapter, it talks about hastening the day of the coming of our Lord, where all this is going to be burnt up, in that fire. But, afterwards, there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwells righteousness. And that fire is going to, put away all these laboratories and, factories where they, do all these abominable things, where they're producing, poison for you to eat. All this is going to be done away during that destruction, during the judgment. So we should definitely be hastening for that, because this is definitely the valley of the shadow of death for real, for real. Was that in Lamentations 3? This is of the Lord's mercies that we perish not, because his compassions fail not. So we're not consumed because the Lord is having mercy on us. He's keeping us alive. But we eating a lot of this bullshit, and that's why, we just gotta, do the best that we can on this side. All right, and constantly pray. Because we can't escape prophecy. It says what it says. All right. We're going to eat our defiled bread among these heathen. Okay. And that's why, Micah 2:10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, for it is greatly polluted. It shall destroy you with a sore destruction. Morally, from a moral standpoint, and even to a physical standpoint. It'll destroy your body, your temple, because, your diet is not good here. Because nothing is fresh, nothing is organic. They're trying to turn everything artificial. You just can't let nature be. He just gotta tamper with everything. That's why it says in Habakkuk, the soul that is lifted up in him is not upright in him. He doesn't know how to do good. He thinks he's doing good, but he isn't. If they do good, they do it unwillingly, but at the end it would declare their wickedness. So, yeah, let me get Matthew 24. Actually, hold up. Let me see if there's any pre's to this one. Hosea 9:4. Hosea 9:4 says, they shall not offer wine offerings to the Lord, neither shall they be pleasing unto him. Their sacrifices shall be unto them as the bread of mourners. All that eat thereof shall be polluted, for their bread, for their soul shall not come into the house of the Lord. And this is, applying to back then. All right, the Lord was getting sick and tired of the idolatry from the north. So he wasn't going to accept anything. That their bread, their food was offered with idols, and a lot of this food today is offered unto idols. They pray in the name of other gods over some of these meats, cattle, and then they doing all type of stuff with your produce. So the shit pollute you. So you gotta wash it, pray over it, pray in the true proper names of the Father and His only begotten Son. Whatsoever you do all in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to the Most High. All right. Let me get this in Matthew, of course. It is Matthew 24 and 22. It says, and except those days should be shortened, which is why he's speeding the times up, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And that's why we're hastening the coming of the day of our Lord. What does it mean to hasten? It means to earnestly desire or to hurry something. Something that's done in haste is to speed it up. Let me go to that. This is 2 Peter 3 and 11. It says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And this is how Esau's world, because this is his current setup, this is how it's going to pass away. Okay. And rightfully so. This is going to be the ending credits right here. All right. On his kingdom. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwell righteousness. All right. A refresh, a rejuvenation. All right. The real reset. And it's going to, throw down all his wicked works. Everything that this devil built is going to be thrown down. No more laboratories, where you're splicing animals, creating genetically modified organisms, taking our food and, polluting it with all type of toxins and chemicals. That's not going to be a thing in our world to come. Let's look up that word hasting. It's from the word sputo, and it says in a Strong's definition, probably strengthened from G4228 to speed. We want the Lord to speed these things up, speed these days up, so we can finally be up out of here. It is i.e. urge on diligently or earnestly, right? By implication, to await eagerly, make with haste unto. Okay. So yeah, we want that day to come fast. And it seemed like we might be the main camp that pushed that vibration, man. We want the Lord to come soon. That's why we stay on our watch. We watching for the end. The sooner this man makes his move and, attack us and come against the truth and, bring the hour of temptation where he's going to make everybody have to succumb to, coming up under this beast system and taking a mark. And once World War III, get to the pinnacle where they's talking, nuclear strikes, then that's how we're going to be that much closer. All right. Until then, we're going to be upon our watch. But we definitely, we're eager to get up out of here, man. All right. You cannot live a full life here. You got to think about your children and, what they diet got to be, what you got to raise them on. Because the food is completely different now than it was back when, We were all younger. Back in the 90s, 80s, all beyond. All right, the food was different. So yeah, you know, we gotta get up out of here, man. This devil, he done too much. His hurtful works is being fulfilled. All right, and the Lord's gonna judge him. Let's get real quick, and I'm gonna end off with this. Let me see. Wisdom of Solomon. Let me get the 6th chapter in the G&T. Yeah, Wisdom of Solomon 6:1 in the G&T. It says, "So then, you kings, you rulers the world over, listen to what I say and learn from it. You govern many lands and are proud that so many people are under your rule. But this authority has been given to you by the Lord Most High. Yeah, he rules in the kingdom of men and set up over it the bases of men. And Esau, he is base. All right. He's somebody that's lifted up and exalted that really shouldn't be, but for the sake of, the lesson, the balance of good and evil is why he's lifted up. All right. This is a way not to rule the world when you come into that position. It says he will examine what you have done and what you plan to do. You rule on behalf of the Most High in his kingdom. And if you do not govern justly, if you do not uphold the law, and he doesn't uphold none of the laws, right? If you do not live according to the Most High's will, you will suffer sudden and terrible punishment. And that's why the ungodly, they're being preserved, to the day of the Lord's judgment to be punished. That's why he's going to go into perdition. He's the son of perdition. He's the man of sin. It says judgment is especially severe on those in power. Common people may be mercifully forgiven for their wrongs, but those in power will face a severe judgment. All right. And that goes all the way to the top, man. The super rich, the globalist elite, the international banking families that control and own all these industries and corporations that control your food, that control your school system, the educational system, that control the pharmaceutical industry, that control all these things. So that's why the Lord's going to shake the whole earth and melt a lot of people. And you're going to have a lot of elite that's going to try to make their escape going into the earth because they know what they've done. And they're going to be judged accordingly. So anyway, hopefully y'all were edified. I'm give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Shalom.